Alright everybody, welcome back to session 2. I have included the closed captioning. I completely forgot to do it the first time, so I'll just make sure that that's included in this and the third video we're going to do. Alright, so still working in the same After Effects project. What we'll do is we'll just bring in our other scene here, and we'll go ahead and do the bird one now. Again, we got everything separated already: the front branch, the main branch, back branch, the little back branch, and then of course our background. So now that we have everything exactly where we need it to be, we can import it into After Effects. So let's go ahead and do that. Import it into After Effects, bird cutout, and make sure you do bring it in as a composition. Go ahead and hit import. And here we go, bird cutout. So just double click on that and you can see that, again, brings it in at our regular Photoshop resolution. So 3825 by 2550, which is, you know, big-ish, but that's what we want. Okay, let's do, before we get into animation, let's just do a little bit of house cleaning with basically what we have here as our scene setup. We're going to want to make this look a little cleaner, and the way we do that is by just adding a little bit of blur to it. So we'll just go to blur and sharpen, you know, fast box blur is fine, and just bump it up, you know, 10, let's see, 20 is a little too much. Yeah, so maybe like 12 feels pretty good. You know, it's there, but it's a little bit blurred. And we can do the same thing for the back branch as well as the small one. Just see that up here. And that makes our scene just look a little bit more natural. Feels about right. Okay, let's go ahead and place in a little bit of parallax, and we'll just get started with our background. You know, we'll just want it to move from left to right, or right to left, or, you know, let's go ahead and go the other way. So yeah, let's go ahead and have it start right about there, and then we'll kind of have it slide this way. So you can see not a ton of movement, right? Just a little bit of a slide. The front branch, we're going to want to have slide quite a bit. So maybe we'll have it start a little bit off frame. And then slide, you know, significantly more. That's pretty good, but of course it needs to be in front of the bird. Yeah, it's not bad. We could get a little bit more. Let me bump it up. Yeah, a couple more here, I think would be okay. And then let's go ahead and take the main branch. Let's go ahead and have this move along as well. That's fine. Starting position. It's not bad. A little bit of parallax there, right? Getting a little bit of motion, and then we'll have the back branches, the small ones, do a little less movement. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Again, using a little bit of trick with the bird positioning. Maybe we go ahead and take the rotation of the bird somewhere, like where its feet might be touching the branch. So we can use that for some rotation later, but as far as the position is concerned, we can go ahead and take the position, instead of setting a keyframe, we'll just go to the pick whip and just match it with the branch. Now you'll see that it kind of adjusted this again slightly based on the anchor point, but we can move that bird kind of wherever we want it to go, up or down, wherever we want on the branch, so that it feels kind of natural. You know, maybe right there is a little bit of a nicer scene, or something like that. So yeah, totally doable. There's our parallax kind of moving a little bit. Maybe we want these small branches to do a little bit more motion against the background. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so we've got the scene set up. We got the parallax feeling pretty good. I think what we'll want to do is get a little bit of action in the bird. So let's see what we can do. We've got these interesting points here. Of course, we can go up here and grab the puppet pin tool. I think the tail feathers is a good spot. Right about here would be great. Its head, its beak might be doing something interesting. Maybe we want a little bit more articulation in the neck area. So now that we've set those, let's go to the end here, and that's kind of like, we wanted the head to go back a little bit. Maybe the body scoots a little bit forward, the tail feathers kind of come this way, a smidge. Yeah, that's not bad. Maybe we don't want to feel like it's rocking so much as it's like kind of shifting position, so maybe the tail feather goes that way as the rest of the body kind of moves a little bit. Something like that. And I think probably the most interesting dynamic part of this scene could be the beak. So let's kind of explore that a little bit. What I like to do is go ahead and just kind of mess around with the pre-comp. Getting the beak to move is going to be a little bit tricky. We didn't cut it out separately on the Photoshop layer, but you can do it in After Effects, and I kind of want to show you how to do that. If you're ever curious about what your mesh looks like, as far as your puppet pin, you can see these lines that come around the bird here, and this is what really controls. So each of these points has its own little pin mesh that it's kind of controlling, and then you can change the expansion or the density of this mesh. Sometimes having it tight is helpful, sometimes having it a little bit broader, as well as the density of the triangles is helpful as well, depending on how smooth you want the motion to try to be. The default is probably fine, but let's go ahead and get in here and see how we can make this bird beak move a little bit. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and pre-compose this bird layer. I'm going to go ahead and leave all the attributes on the outside. So we'll just hit OK and then come in here. Okay, now here's the beak, and the easiest way to do this is to simply just cut out the bird beak just like you would in Photoshop, but this time we're just going to use the layer. That's not bad. This is probably right where it starts, and then maybe we want a little bit of motion coming out here. This looks okay. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll just simply duplicate this layer, and then the mask, instead of having it add, we'll change one of them to subtract. Alright, so what that's done is like make one layer that just shows the bottom beak, and another layer that just shows the bird and the top beak. Looks a little weird, but this should work. Okay, so with this bottom beak, we'll go ahead and grab the anchor point and move it to where we think, the moment of rotation would be, somewhere right around there. And what we'll do is we'll just make the bird beak, maybe we'll have it closed slightly, like this. And then we'll sort of feather this mask as well, so that we still have a little bit of connection to the other parts of the bird here. So we'll grab this and kind of feather it in here, feather in here a little bit. That way we're not losing too much of what we need. Okay, so there it is with its mouth closed. Our rotation is kind of set to -3, so it starts with it closed, and then we'll just see how this kind of... You don't have to get too extreme. You know, open slightly. That should be pretty good. So we'll go back to our bird cutout, and we'll just see how this motion gets treated by the puppet pin tool. That's not bad. Looks pretty reasonable. No major glitches or chunks left out. And you can see this is one of those still life photos where most of the motion or the dynamism of the scene is going to have to be generated by the camera. So again, feels a little bit slow-mo, opens his mouth. We probably could have the head go back a little bit more. Possibly. So here's that pin, right? And it's kind of like maybe we want this to go back a little bit, just a tiny bit more. You know, you don't want to overdo it if it's supposed to be slow motion, but at the same time, you definitely want to get a sense of motion in the entire scene. Alright, wait for that to finish cooking. Okay. So here's one that we'll have to kind of like really pay really close attention to the composition. Once we have this all kind of squared away that we're comfortable with it, you're going to still want to make that new 1920 by 1080 composition. And then this time what we'll do is in that composition we'll drag bird cutout. You can see it's a little bit bigger, so let's figure out what we have going on here. And you can see we don't lose too much. A little bit of the top, a little bit of the bottom. Bottom's not too important. We kind of would like that branch. Here the bird is kind of sitting in right in the middle. So what we could do is go back into our scene, and here's like the front branch. Take that position and just go ahead and select it properly, move it up a little bit, and maybe the back branch and the small back branch. Again, select position, and just go ahead and scoot those down a little bit. So now we're sort of working with our comp there to get just more of the scene a little like highlighted a little tighter. And that's a nice like slow motion parallax, right? You can get a sense of the depth of the camera and how the scene is moving. Looks like we do get a little bit of white right here, so we'll just bump this over. And we get a little bit of white right there, so we'll scale up the whole thing. Not too crazy. Just so it fits within our frame. Okay, we can call that one pretty good. So yeah, basically for ones where the character isn't in as dynamic motion, we're going to want to make sure that the parallax of the scene, the background, these mid plates, the focused plate, and the foreground all move naturally in the way that we want them to make it feel like there's a camera pan here, even though the bird isn't doing anything like super duper loco. Okay, hopefully that was pretty clear and you're able to go back and look over any parts that are a little tricky. Hit me up if there's any questions or about something particular in the video. And we'll just move on to number 3, our butterfly, where we'll get into a little bit into 3D layers and stuff like that. Okay, see you in a sec.